Hi, I got a tape I want to play.
Oh, hi! Fever dream high in the quiet of the night, you know that I caught it. Bad.
When Talking Heads and director Jonathan Demme's crew gathered at the Pantages Theatre in Los Angeles, California in December 1983, the band had been together for 9 years and made 5 albums. As a live act, they were at the peak of their powers, but once the film was released, they would never go out on tour again. When Taylor Swift played 3 shows at the SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California in August this year, she had been performing professionally for 17 years and had released 10 albums and 3 re-recorded albums. Just to give you an idea of the relative experience of these 2 musical acts as they both bring versions of their shows to cinemas, Talking Heads with Stop Making Sense and Taylor Swift with the Eras Tour. It's a buzzy thing to watch them both this close together. In some ways, they couldn't be more different. Talking Heads in a theatre with a capacity of 2,700, starting the show on an empty stage, a handful of roadies and stage crew, and 3 35mm slide projectors providing AV. Taylor Swift in a stadium housing 100,000, and with hundreds of stage crew, including 50 truck drivers, who apparently all got a $100,000 bonus, you'll be pleased to know, and millions of tiny LED screens attached to every conceivable surface. What the shows have in common, however, is that they are both incredibly theatrical as well as musical experiences, using old-fashioned stage magic as well as technology to move their audiences. And both represent the state of the art for when they were performed. And it's going to be the movie versions that the world will remember, long after everyone who ever bought a ticket is gone.
This has been the most extraordinary experience of my entire life.
To go on a little adventure together, and that adventure is going to span 17 years of music. How does that sound?
I could go on making parallels between these 2 shows forever, but I suspect my returns are already diminishing. So let's dig into the older of the 2 first. The Stop Making Sense shows was staged especially for Jonathan Demme's cameras, but it was a show that had been well honed by Talking Heads on the road, and the theatricality of it, the boombox opening, the slow entry of the band and staging, David Byrne's giant suit, had all been worked out by Byrne before the tour started. Demme's genius was to prioritise the cameras and not just shoot normal public concerts. That gave him a freedom in terms of audience sightlines and got the cameras in closer than we'd ever been before. The version that's going into cinemas this weekend is remarkable. It's never looked or sounded this good. The original 35mm elements were located in a warehouse in Oklahoma and then scanned in glorious grainy 4K. The band had wisely and bravely decided that the audio would be recorded in what at the time was an early multi-track digital technology. This has allowed Jerry Harrison to go back and remix the audio for the posh new Dolby Atmos format. And in a cinema with any kind of a decent sound system, it will have air and space and funk like it has never had before. Combined with Demme's close-ups, you're going to get an insight into the sheer musicianship that hasn't been available up to now.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. You may find yourself another part of the world. You may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. You may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. You may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by.
All of those are concerns that Taylor Swift hasn't had to worry about. The nature of her shows are that there will always be 40 plus cameras in attendance, many operated by remote control. so that they can put images on the screens for the little people at the back. And the sound mix has enough discrete channels that it can be endlessly remixed and tweaked for everyone in the venue, let alone a cinema audience eating their popcorn in reclining seats. She's putting on a different kind of show, but it's just as stage-managed and just as resistant to improvisation and ad-libbing as Byrne's production was. Somehow the spectacle, mind-blowing though it is, never quite catches fire the way that Stop Making Sense does, at least for a big screen audience. It's one layer of technical abstraction too many, I think, even though I'm sure the audience in the stadium is in a state of bliss throughout. And I know she's got twice the catalogue to get through than Talking Heads had at the time, but that means it's also twice as long a show to sit through. Something to consider if you're on the fence about her music.
Fever dream high in the quiet of the night, you know that I caught it. Bad boy, shiny toy with the price, you know that I bought it. Human beings low out the window, I'm always waiting for you to be waiting below. Devils roll the dice, angels roll their eyes. It doesn't kill me, makes me want you more. And it's new, the shape of your body.
The Eras Tour is rated M for some offensive language and is in cinemas now. Stop Making Sense is rated G and opens across the country this weekend. And brace yourself, because Beyoncé's Renaissance World Tour is coming to movie theatres later in December.